So soon after that, you were working for as a bank examiner for about a year, and you welcome
Yeah,
another child.
and we welcomed our son David in 1961, and right after that, I had a educational station in Washington D.C. that was just a customary thing that was done, but the only deal wasn't lasted for 5 weeks, so it was a pretty lengthy absence from home, and it was actually my first airplane flight. Didn't drive out there, so I boarded this airplane that had some propellers, and I hoped it got there, and it did. It was fine, but that was my first experience on a commercial aircraft,
Underst-
followed by a lot after that. But
yeah. Then I understand that during that time as an examiner, you would have to spend some nights away, like a week or two
yeah,
away.
I probably traveled half time. Some of the guys was even more than that. But in my case, anything within, say, 50 miles, we would commute it, unless the weather was real bad. But obviously, you couldn't commute Memphis or Detroit or Chicago or Louisville or Evansville or Little Rock or places like that. So we got called in on the bigger shops in those markets, and then the rest of it was more modest sized banks of various sizes, really, out in the area that we were working in. There were three national banks that were the dominant banks here in Decatur, downtown, and in this examination process, you would look at them not with the idea of, hey, I want to get a job here, but you would look at the culture that was existent within those banks, and you would kind of look at the ones that you thought kind of matched your own and say, well, this is one I could probably work in if I decided to. And then some others you would say just the opposite. Say, I just don't like the culture here. I wouldn't fit. And so you just kind of put that in your back of your mind for later reference. But yeah, I did that after David was born. I kept at this for another number of years and still traveled the same circuits. And
How was that being a young father and having two children at home? I mean, was it?
well, it's one of those. It's one of the trade-offs. I mean, you trade off some of the things you'd rather be doing perhaps than traveling, and for the opportunities that it creates by traveling. And I always knew the job had some travel. I know the day I checked in to go to work for them, they asked me if I brought my suitcase, and I hadn't, so I had to go home and get it. And I ended up on the road day number one, so I got a dose of it right off the bat. But it becomes sort of routine, and when you get home, you deal with whatever issues or that you can during the weekends, and take off again. It's not like a traveling salesman, but it's felt a little bit like that at times when you had to take off on Sunday afternoon. But yeah, it was part of the deal. But I think in the final analysis, when I decided to leave and go to work in one of the banking companies here, that was one of the overriding reasons I did that. But let me get back to the opportunities that this creates along the way. Again, we were always short of personnel, and short of personnel who could take their game maybe to the next level. So they was always sticking these things out in front of you and say, hey, do you want this? And some people just don't. I mean, there were some single guys, and they were just happy doing, what they were doing. But I felt like just sizing up again what the opportunities were, that I could take advantage of some of them. So I was willing to do it. And you stick your nose out there and get it bloodied once in a while, but still it creates some opportunity. And there was a hierarchy here of testing to see if you could handle this next level. And at some point, I think I've been there maybe 3 years. They started. Then they would commission you as a full-fledged examiner. And before that, it had been like 10 years before you could even be considered. But that was shrinking all the time just because of the need. And so they said, hey, would you like to take the test to be a commissioned examiner? I said, well, sure. So I went into the office to take this test, and I ended up passing it. And I'll never forget that this carried an automatic increase in, it's like a GS rating in when you're working for the feds. And I almost doubled my salary in that one day just by taking that test. Not that I was making an ungodly amount of money, because it wasn't, but it was just the fact that the opportunities were there. And then it just kept showing up, and you got more and more experience, and you got experience with leadership and managing a group of people, and talking to the upper managements of the shops that you were in, because it was your baby then. You were doing the board interviews, and you were interviewing the CEO, and you were talking to the head people, and typically they'd bring in their whole board. You have to talk to them about the condition of their bank. And most of them were in good sound condition, but it was a good experience.